Hi, the purpose of this video is to show how using an Edision HDMI modulator we can set up to 4 Sky HD boxes, combine them into a single signal, run it around the house if necessary to multiple televisions, and allow each of the Sky boxes to be independently controlled while viewing the picture on each of the televisions in high definition. So this is not that simple, but it is possible to do. So it was an interesting technical question that was asked by one of our customers, and what we said is, let's actually sit down and do this and let's make it work and find out why it wouldn't work and troubleshoot and things like this. So this really is very, very popular now. So the huge move obviously that's happened in the last couple of years since 2012 is it's moved from where the TV signal and TV tuners are mainly analog to a point where all the signal now is moving to digital. So increasingly signal is digital, so it has a big advantage. It's a high definition signal, all the rest of it here, but the traditional ways of running signal to analog tuners, which would have worked Sky Eyes, things like that in a very simple manner, that sort of day is on the way out. And what we need to be able to do is the two things here. We want high definition picture, and we want the ability to control each of the boxes independently. So we're going to use an older piece of technology from Global called an SPC4, which is designed specifically for Sky boxes to allow them to be combined together, and where you can actually train in a particular Sky HD remote to work one particular box and then another one to control another box, and how well this works. So there's two vital things that we need on each set-top box. In this particular example, we're just going to do it in the Sky Plus HD box and a Sky HD multi-room box. So if we look here on this particular unit, what we have is a satellite feed coming in, and what we have then is a HDMI lead coming out of here. It runs into the Edition modulator, and it's converted into a DVB-T signal, similar to your SareView or Freeview HD signal, and it's run out of here, okay? And what we also have is an I/O link coming out from the set-top box, and what it's doing is it's giving the ability, it's sending out an analog signal, which we probably won't be using, but it's also sending out an ability to control the box via Sky Eye. So what we wanted to do is, we're feeding this RF signal in here, from the modulator. So on the cable that's coming out from the I/O link, we've two things. The first of all, we have a 9-volt signal, which is going to allow us to control this box via Sky Eye, and we also have a DVB-T signal, which is after converting the HDMI output of the Sky box into a DVB-T. We run it down here, and what we do is we run it into this box here, and it goes in as input 1 into the SPC4. So this box's output is over here, and there's a signal there to allow us to control it, okay? We're going to do the same from this box here. We replicate exactly the same process. We run it over here, and we run it in here. Now, if we had a multiple television setup, what we could actually have here is on the output here, which in this case we're running to a single television, we can actually run it into a 4 and 8, even a 16-way splitter, and run it up to multiple televisions, each of which will have both the control ability for each of the boxes, and also it'll have the ability to view each of them in high definition. So what we have here in the back of the unit then is the signals running in here. So we have the HDMI signal, which has been converted to DVB-T. It runs in here, and it's been picked up as a DVB-T signal, so it's seen as a high definition picture here, and also the Sky Eye is lighting up here, and it means that what we can do is we can actually come along and we can train in these. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to come around to the front of the unit, and I'm just going to press the OK button on the set-top box here. So we can see that we have 2 channels set up, one that we've named channel 15361 TV1, and then the other one is 15362, which is box 2, I think. Okay, so we've named it quite neatly there, all the rest of it. So what we're going to do here now is, I'm just going to exit out, and I'll just see which channel we're on. So we're on box 2 here, which I think is the one on the right hand side here. And I've actually marked up this remote control to work this particular box. There's a separate video you can look at here, which we made some years ago about the SPC4. You just need to investigate that, look at the video, but we covered it in reasonably good detail. But if we come along with this remote control now, we can see here that we can actually come along and we can bring up the menus, all the rest of it. So, okay, in this case, obviously the Sky Eye and the box are quite close together, but even if they were 50 meters away, this would still work perfectly. Now, if I come along here and I flick over to the other box, which is just set up as another, almost as if another SareView or Freeview channel on the box. If we come along here, If I grab this remote control, that information on the screen will disappear in a few moments' time, okay? And what we'll be able to do here is, I can just come here and we can do a different flick here or whatever like that, okay? So that's it. So I'll be able to change the channels on this particular one here. So I'll just flick back actually over to the other channel quite quickly. So that's it. So what other videos do you need to see in relation to this? Well, I mentioned that we'll have to look at a video with the SPC4, it works there. And also what we have here is we have a config file. And we have that as a downloadable thing. So what we're doing here is, normally we'll say in the simplest form, you have a set-top box, you have a modulator, you turn it into a DVB-T signal and you run it around, and anything with a digital tuner it can work on. So that's the simplest form. The next after that is, what we could do is we could daisy chain it, where we'll have multiple boxes, each looping through, each being set up as its own DVB channel with its own PIDs and channel names, all the rest of it. This is why we have the config files that are downloadable for the thing. So you change things like the video PID, a few things like that. So the television is able to see each of the modulators is giving a different channel rather than the same channel interfering with themselves. And that would be the next step up. The step after that would be, your alternative to it is, we have a single set-top box, you want to have a Sky Eye operating it. So the ability to be able to view a box and change the channels remotely. And finally, the most complicated setup is what we have here, where you want to be able to view multiple boxes and control multiple boxes at the same time. Now, some issues that would say might occur, and some workarounds that we have for them is, if you had a problem where you have a handshaking issue, we'll say the output from at the end of this sort of setup comes along and we have the picture breaking up or freezing or holding on the screen. Sometimes it simply can be that the tuner on the television is becoming overloaded. And this can happen, and on some TVs it'll be an issue, and others it won't. Generally it isn't an issue, but the more complicated the setup, the more risk you can have of it. And a good workaround we've found with that before is, we've simply put a set-top box like a DVB-T, let's say a TV Star or something like that, has good strong tuner in it. We put it in and we work with that, and then what you have is just a HDMI from it. So we're actually using the tuner in the set-top box rather than the TV. And indeed you could use that on older TVs that wouldn't have a digital tuner to allow you to do the digital signal send to it as well. So that's one thing we have. The other thing is, check like hell all the cables and connections are correctly in place. We actually had a problem here for a while, we just couldn't get it, and we just found out it was a loose cable that was causing us a lot of hassle. So we lost a lot of time in relation to that. But in terms of how this has worked, we've actually had this running now for the whole afternoon. We got it the whole thing to work. We had actually tried using some of the global TV links to actually boost the signal that came from here. And you could possibly need to use something like that. Maybe Ryan just shows over one of them very quickly. We'll just show it on the screen here. So this is something that we could actually put in between the I/O link over here, and we could put a power unit with it. And it'll actually just come along and boost the signal and ram it down. On longer runs, something like that, you may need to do it. In general, something like this would be okay. If we had long runs again, we could use an I/O link that had a power unit on it to boost the signal running through. So if you had a large building, something like that, the extra power thing can be an important factor. But I'm reasonably happy on this in terms of we've done a lot of things, knocking on and off the boxes, knocking on and off TVs. This is just a stable system now. It's worked extremely well for us. And it really is very advantageous, because this is exactly what people want to do in terms of, they don't want to have all the boxes maybe in the various rooms. They want to build a head end somewhere and then be able to remotely control it, have the great HD picture on it, and have it to work in a stable manner. And this is really where the Edition modulators come into its own, because it's just got such versatility, and it's a huge area in terms of the massive upgrading now of televisions. And what people are seeing is the old analog setups of how they were sending the signals around and things like that just won't work, because the newer televisions just don't have analog modulators anymore. So hopefully anyway this was reasonably clear to you. Do look at the associated videos with it. I think it'll give you pretty in-depth knowledge on it, and we're particularly proud of this thing here, because this is very advantageous to our customers, and it wasn't simple in terms of the figuring out of it, but I think we got to the bottom of it quite well.